Good morning. He who has eyes to see, he who has ears to hear. What does it mean? As I look out at the world in front of me, where are the atoms? Where are the molecules? I don't see them. What do I see? What do I see? The world is laid out before me. It's interesting, beautiful, complicated. Many things out there. But one thing I for sure do not see are atoms. I don't see anything like that. I see the living energy of life. This tree, it feels a certain way. This building feels a certain way. This window feels a certain way. Things feel different, and I can feel it. That's really what I experience. When I say what I see, I really mean what am I receiving or what am I sensing from life? Certainly atoms are not part of it. One thing you can say for sure is whatever you experience out there, you don't experience atoms or molecules. That's for damn sure. That is guaranteed. But what do you experience? And who helps you to learn about these things? No one. Whoever even talks like this? It's like people walk down the street and they've been so brainwashed into being in their head or something that they don't experience what's in front of their face. Right? Now some people say all of life is a miracle, so on. Well, that's nice. It doesn't help you to move forward with your contact with life. What is the alchemy of my interaction with the world? I receive a certain contact with the world. How can I alchemize it? How can I create a law of three here? That's something that could be investigated. And that is evolution. You cannot evolve without learning new things, and they have to be learned deeply inside you. Otherwise they're not really part of you. They're just little efforts. You have to learn it deeply within so that your whole life is kneaded in with it. It becomes part of the substance, part of your way. That has to be very deep. If I walk down the street and I think about the things I want from life, my pleasures, my moans, like I said, nothing happens to me. There's no existential policeman breathing down my neck. The God isn't chasing me down the street telling me that I didn't do this and didn't do that. Nothing happens. And that is the reason of knowing, that Gurdjieff says. This sort of the way that human beings live. They live like animals. They don't really understand anything and they don't care about anything. They have a certain way of thinking and talking. What do you believe in? Let's get excited. For instance, people say that. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a habit. Do you believe in God? It's just a habit. The words don't mean anything. Because they're part of the humans pretending to be animals. Or humans that are animals because they are on the inside of the fifth stophinder. But we can leave. And then we become a force in ourselves, a being in ourselves, an individual, independent aspect of existence. That's a very difficult journey and painful. Plus, not only painful, but you have to learn how to be an individual. You've never been one. It's like a sheep learning how to be Isaac Newton. There's a lot to learn. And on this planet, there's not that many people who want to teach you. Like, for instance, Jiddu Krishnamurti, he says, well, let's be free from thought and we're all free and la 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 la. Yeah, a lot of spiritual people talk like that. We're going to be free from this and free from that, and we're all just the great oneness in the sky. And then what happens? Nothing. Like, these people are just as powerless as anybody else. They're spiritual and they're powerless. Like, unless you can make alchemy happen, because you feel it, you practice it, you train it, you know how to interact with things so that something happens, something enters into this world. Something is born through a certain type of connection that you make and that you're interested to explore. You know, what happens if I bring a bit of this magic into this situation? What can I do, you know? That's the only way that anything new is born in this world. Apart from that, sliding down. They call that entropy. A lot can be learned here. But there are few learners. Life as it is ordinarily lived in the reason of knowing, or the reason of talking, probably a better expression. The reason of talking. I talk, therefore I reason. I say what everybody else says, therefore it occupies my time. It's pretty strange. Strange world, strange life, strange realizations. Doing stuff is good. Trying stuff is good. Giving it a go. Making something happen. Who knows what can happen? When you make something happen, something new happens, so you don't know what it's going to be there. But you do know that you made something, so it shimmers. It shimmers. At least it shimmers. When you make something new, you can't control it. The only thing you can control is death, because it's always the same. When you make something new, you're never really sure what's going to happen. Maybe it could be okay. Goodbye. I've been working with a lot of vibrations, feelings. If you look deeper, they have a certain kind of energy, certain resonance inside the body. Some feelings inside, they're quite sharp and pointed, staccato rhythm. Some feelings are smooth, they're like long waves. And if you go more into it, you start to feel that there's a vibration inside. This has taken me years of daily work to start to get into this stuff. Years of daily work. It's not easy. And if people actually want to evolve, rather than to be happy or relieved of difficulties, if you want to evolve, it is years of daily work. Otherwise, you're just the same as everybody else, with a different story, a different kind of smile on your face, but you're not different. To grow wings, years of daily work. At the end of Gurdjieff's life, what he explained is that he suffered a triple disaster. His wife died, he had a car crash. Because of that, he couldn't help his wife much. And he lost his institute. 1, 2, 3, a triple disaster. And during that time, he investigated different things that he hadn't considered before, in extremis. One of those things was vibrations. He started talking about them at the end of his life. I was listening to Course in Miracles this morning, and it was about living in love, in the feeling of love. It's a different space. Like the vibrations are a different space. These are different layers that exist, and they interpenetrate each other, as Gurdjieff says. As I was working with vibrations today, subtly sensing feelings, it seems to me that I cling on to the physical body, and to release yourself into feelings and vibrations in love is quite difficult. Of course, everybody feels love and they feel good and they dance around for a while. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about releasing your identity. It's quite a difficult thing. The saints, they do a lot of work. One way or the other, they just do a lot of work. And what people call spirituality these days is more like fun and games for the new age. Maybe they enjoy it here too much these days. People want to be happy, people want to be free, people want many things. But are they willing to change how they function inside? Gurdjieff said that the different personalities inside of us need to evolve, need to grow, need to be individually trained. So what does that mean in the real world? It means that you have to be a master of the physical world. You have to be able to do many physical things. Some physical things are slow, some are fast, some are tough, some are soft. It's the same with feelings. Sometimes hard feelings are needed, sometimes soft. Sometimes an alchemization, a joining of emotional energy. And the same in the mental plane. How many followers of Gurdjieff are doing anything like this? Mostly they have reduced Gurdjieff's teaching, which is kind of ridiculous, since it is vast and very detailed, containing within it many new sciences, I would say. Many streams, Who is following him really? Most people reduce it to the present moment, not being negative, observing yourself or something. These things are only a beginning. And they are a beginning without clause. For a person who lives today, how can you explain to them that something else is possible with a huge amount of work, a desperate amount of work? How could you explain it to them? It's not easily, you know. After that episode with the 3 disasters, it's clear that Gurdjieff did that additional investigation that he describes. He did that in extremis because he had to. People he knew were suffering. So he worked himself to the bone. I have worked hard because I have been suffering. My teacher worked hard because he had been suffering. And without that, the work would have been a lot less, I'm sure. It's difficult to transfer the inner feeling of spirituality. Gurdjieff says that if you love your mother and father, then you create a kind of trust, and maybe you would be willing to trust Gurdjieff one day, or God. Then you are fortunate. Anybody who can do that, who can have a teacher that they deeply bow before, that they spend a lot of time with, that they do exactly what they are told, hour after hour, year after year, you do exactly what you are told. If you can do that today, you are very fortunate. This world, the people, Gurdjieff says, let me read it out, he says, speaking frankly and wholly without partiality, contemporary man as we know him is nothing more nor less than merely a clockwork mechanism, though of course a very complex construction. If you go to a sports stadium, people stand up and make a Mexican wave, and the wave travels round the stadium. Have you seen that? A Mexican wave, it's called. And if you're in a pub in the evening, laughter ripples from one side of the room to the other as somebody slams the door or changes the song, and it cascades through people. Because their manifestations are part of an external rippling, an external wave of energy. Few of them live on the basis of their own fire. They have not initiated their own fire, but still they live and they don't notice any problems. And it shouldn't really necessarily be a problem, except that somehow over centuries human beings have started to mechanize themselves, so their whole education has become mechanized. Ordinary life should be okay, I think, but not if your upbringing is mechanized. Then your life has been derailed, and in a way that you wouldn't necessarily know, in a way that it's hard to see really, or hard to appreciate. When I look into the world and I try to see the things that Gurdjieff are talking about, my eyes squint in a certain way, like I'm trying to feel and understand and penetrate what is happening around me. It's quite difficult, because life is just trundling along, isn't it? Everybody's alright, so it would seem. And these books about the saints and religions and so on, they just have almost no connection to the people who are around today. One thing I know about people is that they do try to be themselves when they're young, but if they're not met with the right kind of response, at a certain point they give up. Sometimes even in the theatre of life, you catch a look from somebody, like soul to soul. There is some light that travels from your eyes to the eyes of somebody else, even though you're in some god-awful theatre of life that you can't easily escape from. It's pretty strange. I liked the challenge. I hated it when teachers didn't challenge me or say things that are specific. You see, some students, they like it when their teachers talk about the present moment and Krishnamurti. They like it because those teachers just erode away anything that's really concrete. They eroded away empty words, woolly words. I hated that. I wanted claws, and I wanted bricks, and I wanted work. I wanted it to be hard. I wanted it to be almost impossible. Because anything that was not almost impossible, I knew was going to fail. I've seen it already. There is a narrow gate. There is one. The most important thing is to find a teacher who is illuminated, I think, and to stay with him, to enter into the current of his river, and just stay with him and stay until it percolates through the strata of your structure. I can't think there's any other way. It takes a long time. The music changes how I feel.